What if you could move objects with your brain? What? So today we're getting curious about your brain, about something called BCIs, and also just the possibilities or downsides or opportunities if you could move things or everybody could move things with their brain. So first of all, think about that. What's this even mean? Moving things with your brain? Wow, how wild would that be? But pause for a second, because what if we already do move objects with our brain? What? Well, whenever you want to eat, for example, a bite of food, you have to reach out for it, pick it up, and put it in your mouth. That doesn't just happen with magic. Your brain has to tell your arm to move in such a way that you can eat. And if you didn't, you'd probably starve. So you see, in many ways, we're already moving objects with our brain. Not just eating, but I'm moving this book up and down with my brain. My brain is telling my arm and my hands to operate in a certain way. But that's not incredibly interesting, especially as it pertains to this question. So what if you can move things you can't move now with your brain? So forget about moving this book and eating. Let's get really into this question. What if we could truly move objects away from our body with our brain, right? Like, for example, lifting a car, or moving a character in a video game, or playing your favorite instrument, all just using your brain. What if you could do these things without touching anything, just brain power? Well, believe it or not, you can. You see, brain-computer interfaces, or BCI for short, are devices that connect the thoughts in your brain to the objects around you. Your brain has electrical signals in it, and that's how it moves around and in some ways even exists. So these BCIs use small sensors that sit on your head to read and measure your thoughts. So again, just to refresh a little, your brain is essentially a bunch of electrical signals going back and forth. And these brain-computer interfaces are designed to be able to read those electrical signals, and they sit on your brain and can read your thoughts. But how does a BCI know the difference between, say, your brain and your friend's brain? Think about noses as an example. You see, we each have a nose, and each of our noses are unique. But there are a few properties that keep all noses similar. You see, it's a pointy thing with two nostrils that come out of the face, yeah? Well, brains are like that too. Each one is unique in its structure and thoughts, but brains are also similar to each other. So to help a BCI out, you have to train it a bit. You might do this by telling it you're thinking up when you're thinking up, and down when you're thinking down, or get me food when you're hungry, right? Well, the BCI is looking for patterns of thought, and when it sees them, performs some sort of action. Well, after you train a BCI, you can do just about anything you set your mind to. Bad joke. Brain-computer interfaces extend your mind and its capabilities. You see, you could connect your brain to anything and control that thing with your mind, assuming you figured out how to find the patterns of thought and have a clear way of turning those into physical actions. Now, a couple interesting things to leave you with on this question of what if you could move objects with your brain is, first of all, it's pretty interesting to see how the brain, or the BCIs, are able to communicate with your brain and drive these actions by looking for specific patterns of thought. So it's looking for patterns, and from that patterns, it can learn something and then do something. And forget the brain for a little bit, but you, people, we're similar in that regards, that the better you can identify patterns and look for recurring patterns or get useful information from patterns, it can help you take actions on any number of things, and not just random actions, but actions that are actually useful. And while we can't predict the future, you may have a better idea of predicting the outcomes or the effects of those actions by the better that you can identify the patterns that you're using to drive those actions. The other thing is just this whole concept of BCIs, or brain-computer interfaces. I don't know if any of you have heard of them before, or if this is the first time you have, but either way, I'd encourage you to discover more and dive deeper into BCIs, because not only are these things that scientists have been working on, but there's new discoveries and new breakthroughs all the time. And I think it might blow your mind to find out what's going on with BCIs. As always, thanks for getting curious with us, and stay curious.